The Crossover with Marlon and Armon is brought to you by Western States Plumbing and AC.
You're now tuned in to The Crossover with Marlon Jones and Armon Williams.
Hold up, you're teaming up a Sun Devil and a Wildcat? Who came up with that brilliant idea?
The Crossover on KDUS AM 1060.
All right, welcome back to The Crossover with Marlon and Armon, KDUS 1060. Subscribe and follow us on our social media accounts on both our YouTube and our Facebook page at The Crossover 1060. Once again, that's at The Crossover 1060. All right, Marlon, I wanted to get into this. This is this more buzz segment. I think this is kind of probably one of the more juicier ones, to be perfectly honest with you, because it's got a lot of elements that are kind of, some are kind of taboo, and it's definitely probably the kind of issues or subjects that typically tend to stratify like really, really hard feelings, like they seem to get a lot of emotion out of people.
Okay.
And this is particularly Stephen A. Smith and between Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman. This is about their breakup that they had from ESPN's First Take a few years back. But it's resurfacing because Stephen A. Smith has been asked about it lately, particularly on social media, as far as his feelings about Max Kellerman and why he left, why he decided to go ahead and to dump Max Kellerman and then go ahead and move forward. And Max did his thing, and now he's no longer on ESPN. And there's been some prominent sports figures that have decided to go ahead and chime in and give their opinion on this whole thing from that happened a couple years ago, including Marcellus Wiley from FS1. He gave a very interesting take. Kind of a breakdown, if you will. And guys, buckle up because this is kind of a little bit lengthy, but I want you guys to get on to hear this before Marlon and I start to go ahead and we start to deliberate and kind of break it down ourselves. Well, this is what Marcellus Wiley recently had to say about that breakup between Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman and why he did it.
I know Max. I know Stephen A. Stephen A. wanted Max for very specific reasons. Now, I'm going to say these reasons, and everybody's going to have a reaction. He wanted Max first because he was white. He wanted Max second because he was intelligent. He wanted Max third because Max can speak on all things. But I don't think he paid enough attention because he got slapped in the face with who Max really is. And then y'all saw the awkwardness that ensued because Max all of a sudden couldn't be who Max really was. Let me take you through it. Stephen A.'s First Take, the show wanted Max to speak for white America. Especially when you lose Skip Bayless, you get Max. Now, it's not just Max speak for white America, but that would allow Stephen A., brother, get to speak for black America. Now, here's the problem. Stephen A., the entertainer, had to meet Max Kellerman, the educator. And boy, that was a class that had a different lesson plan. Stephen A. realized quickly that he was dealing with a whole different animal, especially on black issues, especially on societal issues. He started to realize he was getting outshined in those conversations. Outshined for these reasons, and I know these reasons, because Max Kellerman is not only a historian, he has a degree in history from Columbia University, same school I went to, Ivy League school. But the dude is a bona fide genius. Like, he is next level brainiac, for real. High school test scores off the charts. Like, next level dude. I'm just giving it to you like it is. And Stephen A. Smith has admitted many a times how he had his own learning disabilities and issues growing up. So that is, no matter how much he has advanced past that, and you can see the immense vocabulary, etc., and his intelligence on display, it's an insecurity for Stephen A. because he speaks on it as how that was an insecurity. That's fine. But now we got a problem because you got Max Kellerman in there who's supposed to go with the flow on these conversations or defer.
All right, so that was Marcellus Wiley with his recent breakdown of the situation of what happened between Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman. Be perfectly honest with you, I don't know if I necessarily disagree. I think that Stephen A. Smith was kind of felt a little bit challenged when it came to especially subjects regarding like African American culture and history. Not that he's supposed to be the foremost expert. And then Max Kellerman comes in and he drops. Max was dropping some dimes when they were on that show, when he was on First Take. And sometimes I think he kind of caught Stephen A. on his heels, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what happened. I believe that 100%. I think, with Max, I've always liked Max. Being a boxing fan because of his boxing knowledge.
Back in the days of Friday Night Fights.
Oh my goodness,
him and Brian Kenny, absolutely.
Right, he had such an immense knowledge of boxing, and then I've gained a lot of knowledge myself of the sport just because of Max and watching him and listening to him and now listening to Marcellus saying how much of with him being a historian, it all makes sense now. Thinking back in the days of his boxing days. It all makes sense now because he knows a lot,
right?
Historically with boxing, and then it turns out with every other sport you can mention, and him being a Columbus, like it all makes sense now, and I can see why Stephen A. would have an issue with feel some kind of way about that.
Well, he's very egotistical. Stephen A. He's got a very, very high ego. He's very intelligent. He's smart. He's successful. Him and Max are both very successful. Both of them are very intelligent. And I think that there was a clashing. There's certainly they clashed and they butted heads, especially when it came to issues regarding like African American history, culture, things of that nature. Stephen, and not only is Max Kellerman brilliant but he grew up around the culture. He's from New York City. I think he's from Brooklyn. I don't know whether he's from Brooklyn or Bronx or Queens, but he grew up around black culture.
It ain't the Hamptons.
No, he didn't grow up. He didn't grow up in the Hamptons, and he didn't grow up across the harbor in Staten Island either.
For sure.
He grew up amongst the brothers and the sisters. And he used to be a rapper.
Oh, I do remember that.
He actually put out an album.
That's right.
Where he was dropping some lucid dimes about, about throwing in boxing and throwing in like African American history and some of his raps. So, he's got that rep, man. He's got that rep. People would say, we would say he's legit. Yeah. He's not coming in half stepping with it. He's not some poser coming in pretend. To be Black Phillic or whatever.
He grew up seasoning his food.
Yes. yes. He's familiar with the hot sauce and the spices, and all that. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So I think that clashed with Stephen A. Smith because Stephen A. was supposed to be that expert. He could go ahead and he can drop knowledge. He was a level or a couple levels above Skip Bayless when he was teamed up with Skip Bayless when it came to those issues. But when it came to Max was on par, if not above him. And it made him feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he underestimated Max, first of all, dealing with Skip, who's the antithesis of Max Kellerman, especially in the intelligence department, in my opinion.
Right.
I don't know Skip's educational background or anything, but just the eyeball and the ear test, it's a no contest. As far as Max and Skip,
absolutely,
and I think Stephen A. got used to dealing with Skip, thinking that he's going to get kind of a similar situation with Max Kellerman when that wasn't the case.
No, it definitely wasn't the case, and it kind of came. There was a situation, a point where it kind of came to a head, where he was actually challenged, not necessarily by Max Kellerman, but he was challenged by actually a guest on his show, and that was Terrell Owens. And Terrell Owens actually called out Stephen A. Smith. It kind of like put him to the carpet and made Stephen A. Smith really uncomfortable and really agitated. And I remember this moment. I saw this, I think, on First Take, or I might have seen this on YouTube or whatever, internet. I had to laugh, and at the same time, I felt kind of uncomfortable when Terrell Owens called out Stephen A. Smith. Regarding his well, I'll let Terrell Owens go ahead and Say what
I'm in the streets. Max almost seems blacker than you, Stephen A. with what he's coming, with his commentary.
With all due respect, my brother.
I'm just saying, dog.
Wait a minute. Wait to finish.
I'm just saying.
I'm gonna check you right now. You don't cross the line.
I'm just saying.
Time. Wait a minute. You don't cross the line.
I'm in the streets.
Yeah, I think a lot of people felt that way, and I think Terrell Owens is kind of not just speaking on himself, on his behalf, but I think that he's speaking on behalf of a lot of other black people, and within our African diaspora, within our community, within the governance structure. That hey man, Stephen A. Sometimes said sometimes you like hanging out with certain people. You're saying certain things that kind of make us look at you kind of cross-eyed. Whereas Max Kellerman comes to it from a different angle, where he actually seems to be more sympathetic to our plight, our situation than you are.
More authentic.
Yeah, and it comes off more authentic. And that really, you could tell that really bothered him. I think that was a straw, in my opinion, that broke the camel's back, where he was like, okay. No, I'm getting challenged by Hall of Famers like Terrell Owens over my blackness compared to Max Kellerman.
Yeah.
No, we can't have this anymore. This has come to a head. Something's got to get. I got to get rid of this guy.
Yeah, he felt that T.O. was kind of out of pocket for saying that.
Oh, absolutely, he felt, and they're going at it right now. This was like probably a couple years ago, but they're recently they've rekindled this since Stephen A. has brought up. The reason why he got rid of Max Kellerman, and they're really going at it on Twitter or X or whatever the hell you want to call it. It's to the point now where they're like issuing kind of like silent threats to each other. It's gotten really ugly.
That's a damn shame.
Somebody just needs to tell both of them to, hey, take a chill pill and kind of like, y'all need to go ahead and get over this thing.
Man. That was years ago, and man, just get over it.
It's ugly. All right, coming up next, folks, buckle up. It's another entertaining, fun segment with the wacky one himself. It's crazy Tracy Ting Yu, live on the Crossover, KDOS 1060.